Well, hello. We're back to the website project. I took a break doing some grid work. We're going to use that grid work in just a bit. But before we do, I did a little setup on the home page, and then I want to illustrate a problem we have with this mobile first responsive design. So let me just go ahead and move this. All right, so we have a problem, and this takes up a lot of real estate. If you had a phone, this would take up everything. And why do you want to see the entire navigation bar when you really want to get to probably the content? So what we're going to do in today's tutorial, I'm going to trick out the HTML just a little bit more, show you what I did, and we're going to add a little toggle button. Yeah, a little button. When you click it, it'll start actually by showing one of those nav menu pop-outs. When you click it, the nav will pop out and down, and then when you click it again, it will go away. It by default will start with it closed like so, and then we can open it and close it doing clicks. And if there's time, we're also going to deal with the width of the screen. And we're going to do some breakpoints. So as you go wider, so at this point, at some point we could probably fit this nav bar underneath the header. When there's enough room, it'll just pop out like so, etc. And then we'll see what time we have, okay? So in order to do this, let's talk a little bit about what you see over here. Let me show you what I did to change this. Now, the header is still the same as it's always been, but what we did is added a couple of these structural tags. We added an article, and a side, and a footer. In the article, we're going to give it a class of main article. In aside, we're going to give it a class of sidebar. And in footer, we're going to give it a class of main footer. We're doing that so that we can target just the class itself and know what we're targeting, or we can add the name of the tag plus the class. It's your choice. In each of these, there is a header. Well, on the article and the aside, there's a header 2, and then a couple paragraphs I got from Filorama.io. So go ahead and Google that if you want to check out what I did there. These are Star Wars quotes. And then we're going to jump down on the aside with the class of sidebar, also a header 2. We did that so we could label what it is, and a couple of paragraphs here. Finally, we have a footer that just has a paragraph with an email link and the copyright symbol and then the current year. Okay, and we close the footer and we close the div. So we did all that stuff within the div called container. All right, so that's what we did on the HTML. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little toggle. So we're going to have to go to a couple places. We're going to get some resources. Number one, we're going to need to find a good icon to use for the menu toggle. Number two, we're going to use jQuery, which is a JavaScript library that will allow us to do some additional programming and animation interaction with our header. It's going to make life a lot simpler, so I recommend we do it. So let's go ahead, let's get our icon, and then we'll get jQuery, and then we'll make our little menu toggle. Okay, just Google FontAwesome, and FontAwesome has free vector icons. And so I'm just going to click Start Using Free. And okay, so we're going to start a new project, and you've got free, all the free ones. You can do all, solid, regular, brands. I'm going to click SVG, and I'm going to choose solid. And interesting, I'm going to take solid off, SVG. I just want one script tag. Okay, so we'll see what we've got. I recommend doing it this way. I like SVG. They're scalable vector graphics. It will reduce your file size, and you might as well learn how to use these. I'm going to click on the copy little copy code icon. Probably done with FontAwesome. And this is a script tag, so the standard practice is to put all your scripts at the bottom of your HTML just before you close the body and then the HTML. So I'm even going to put a little comment here. Scripts. Like so. So that's the FontAwesome script. And we're going to talk about using this in a moment. I'm going to leave this up. Let's get, actually, let's wait on the jQuery until we're ready to do it. Okay, once we've done this, all right, so we've already done the first step. We set it up on our site by pasting that link. We're going to go to start placing icons in your HTML body, find the right icon. Okay, for this one, we're going to do a trick that I saw once. I didn't see the code for it, but I saw the plus sign. And the cool thing about a plus sign is if you click it, you assume that you're going to expand something. But the cool thing is if you turn that and rotate it like 45 degrees, it becomes an X. And you click an X, and that seems to imply you're going to close it. So we can use one symbol and do it all there. So I click on it. I want the plus sign, okay? And it says solid style, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. I'm going to just copy this right here. Okay, so I'm going to take that, I'm going to right click and copy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put it into my header 1. I'm going to explain in a moment why. So I'm going to click that there. Whoa, I do not want all of that information. I'm going to save my changes. And let's take a look at what it looks like now, which is just over here. Hit refresh. There's the plus sign. Now, we only need this when we can't see the menu, and we are doing mobile first, so I'm just going to go ahead and move this over. I'm going to grab this back, and oops, wrong one. I just want to get this back to the mobile first. So this is where we're going to test it. Okay, we're going to get this to work, and then we'll deal with the other sizes later. So basically, when we have this kind of a menu, that's when we want the toggle. We're not going to want it as soon as we get to here, we don't want it anymore. In fact, as soon as we can put a horizontal nav underneath here, we won't need it either. So we're probably going to go about here, we'll have it, and then more narrow. Okay. So we need to add a little bit of HTML because what I want to do is I want to actually move this plus sign to the right-hand side. Not only that, but I also want a way of either hiding or displaying it. So I'm going to surround this with the span tag. In fact, if I just type span, oh, it doesn't do it there. Probably because I already have another tag around here. Or autocomplete isn't working. And I'm going to close it on the other side of the italic. And we're going to give this a class. Oh wait, I'm sorry. We're going to call this ID equals, we're going to call it the menu toggle. Because that's what it is. It's a toggle switch. You click it to open, you click it to close. Okay, and it goes back and forth between the two. We're going to give it a class of, now, in a moment, we're going to get rid of this menu. But by default, the class should actually be closed. Okay. So when it's closed, when this is set to closed, we want to make sure that our nav is closed as well. Okay. And then when it's set to open, it's going to look like this. Okay. So let's do a little bit of styling. And for that, we need to go to our navigation style sheet. By the way, I'm using the Atom editor. In case you did not know, I highly recommend you do this. We got, oh, look at this. I already have my code in place. I did not intend to do that. I intended to code it while you watched. But while we're here, this is it. And let me walk you through what we're doing. So let me just move. I'm going to split this to the right, split right. And then I'm going to get index over here. And I want to focus on getting this open here. All right, menu toggle. Let's just might as well move this over here. Okay, so you have the span. It has an ID of menu toggle. So menu toggle, we float to the right. We do a margin right of 1 rem. And I'm not seeing this work, so let's just see. Save changes here, save changes here, hit refresh. Ah, there we go. Okay, I think, yeah, you were just looking at the old version. Okay, so notice it is off to the right. Okay, that's because I floated it to the right. I used a margin right of 1 rem so that it wouldn't be totally touching the right over here. Okay. And then when it's closed, we're going to use a transform called rotate. And what's cool about this is the rotate, we're going to set rotate to 0 degrees. That's its standard rotation. 0 degrees is its default state. Okay, and then we do this thing called a transition. This is to animate it. Okay, so on the menu toggle, notice it's hashtag menu toggle dot closed, hashtag menu toggle dot open. Notice we have to do 3 different versions here because this is just moving it to the right-hand side, and this is the idea of rotating it. Now, when it's open, when we give it a class of open, right now it's closed. Let's go ahead and type opened, and I'll show you what's going to happen there. And I'm going to save my changes. When it's opened, you'll notice it's going to be an X. So it's opened, so clicking the X will close it. And what we need to do is find a way to change the class between opened and closed. Okay, so I'm going to save my changes, go back here. And for that, we're going to need to do our jQuery. So now it's time to go to jQuery. So let's go ahead and take a look. jQuery, let's open this up. So what we need to do is we want to download the jQuery. And so I'm going to click on download it. Now I'm actually not going to download it. What I really want to do is use a thing called CDN. We're going to use jQuery with a CDN. Okay, so now to use jQuery CDN, let me just read it and I will do it. Okay, here it is. So we're just going to go to this link. It's under using jQuery with a CDN, jQuery CDN provided by StackPath. You're going to click here. We're going to click the version we want and then get the tag. So we're going to use the latest version of jQuery, and we're going to use, I think, I'm going to try Slim Minified and see if that works. This is the tag that we want, so I'm just going to copy that tag right there. Actually, just click here, copy to clipboard. I'm going to go back to our page here. Remember, we have the scripts. I'm going to tab over, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to, whoa, that's the wrong, that was weird. It didn't save it. Control Z. So I'm going to have to just copy and paste myself. That happens sometimes. There we go. All right. And let's expand this out a little bit. It's a long URL. Notice code.jquery.com, integrity, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I'm going to save my changes. And let's save our changes on navigation. Actually, I have it over here. And then now what I want to do is I want to actually write a script that uses jQuery. So I'm going to add one more script tag. So it's script, and I'm going to put src equals, and now I don't know if you know this, but I've added, let's hover over here, I've added a JS folder, okay? And I've created a scripts tag. So to link to it, the src, we're going to write js/scripts.js, just like so. Now, so this is the file we're going to work on. Okay, so I'm going to do kind of what I did with this. I'm going to go ahead, save my changes here. You're going to need to create a folder here for JS. So if you have to, you can go into the folder and create a new folder. You can create new folders by just clicking here at the top, right-clicking new folder, or Shift-A, and then it asks you what you want to call that folder. And I called mine JS. And then from there, I right-clicked and did new file, or typed A, asked for a new file. So you click here and you just write the name of the file as scripts.js. I kept it all lowercase. Here it is. Let's split this off to the right. And then I don't think we need that anymore. And then we're going to go back here, menu toggle. All right, let's talk jQuery. Now, jQuery, we're going to do a very simple thing in jQuery. What we're going to do is we're going to basically, I'm going to just grab my notes here. I've got some notes on the side. Basically, what we want to do is that when we click the menu toggle, all we're going to do is we're going to switch back and forth between the opened and closed. And we're going to animate it to last about 1 second long. All right. And so let's go ahead, and then we're going to try to also change the way it looks. To do jQuery, you begin with the $, and then we're going to do parentheses. So right here is the most basic jQuery command. It's a command to do nothing, but it's everything you need for jQuery to work. The $sign represents everything that jQuery has to offer. This is one command here. Inside the parentheses is where we put all of our main code. So we're going to write function, and we're going to write in what's called an anonymous function, a function that has no name. Okay, this is what an anonymous function looks like in JavaScript. It's function, open and close parentheses. Then we're going to create some curly brackets and hit enter. You may see a lot of jQuery examples like this. Hopefully now you understand what's going on with all these curly brackets and stuff like that. So basically, this is a function that happens once the page has all been loaded. And that's the important part about jQuery. We put the script at the bottom of the page. After we've already loaded jQuery, we load scripts. This thing waits until everything's loaded. Once it is, then it runs whatever's inside. Okay, so we're going to do some jQuery stuff. So we're going to put the $sign, and we're going to do more parentheses, and I'm just going to go ahead and put my semicolon at the end, just like I showed you before. Now, the question is, all right, what do we want to do? Okay, so we're going to target our menu toggle, and it has an ID of menu toggle, so I'm going to flat out just copy it. Sometimes my students get stuff messed up because they don't think to do that. Now, inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to select what it is we want to do. So we're going to put some quotes. We're going to put the hashtag and paste this. So this works just like a CSS selector. It's selecting by ID because we begin with the hashtag. So we're saying, all right, we're going to do something to this element called menu toggle. In other words, we're going to target this span tag and everything that's inside of it, okay? So what are we going to do? All right, we're going to have it so when we click it, we're going to do something. So I'm going to put a dot on like so. And what this does is it says basically, all right, what happens when you do an event? On what? So this is the way we're going to choose what our event is. In this case, it's going to be click. So we're going to put quotes. We're going to write click. We're going to have a comma. Now, what do we want to do when we click it? We're going to do another anonymous function. And today's keyword is anonymous function. So we're saying when we click the menu toggle, whatever's in these curly brackets is what's going to happen. So we're going to begin by doing a thing called toggle class. Now, we have clicked the menu toggle and we want to do something to the menu toggle. Okay? So in order to do something to the same item we clicked, we have to put in quotes the word this. This means what we just clicked. This being the menu toggle. You got to do it that way. Just get used to the idea. Oh, I can't recall. You might not need the quotes. We're going to find out in just a moment. We're going to put a dot. We're going to write toggle class, like so. And then here, toggle class, it lets you switch between classes, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to put quotes. I'm going to write opened, space, closed. And what's going to happen is if it currently has closed, it will change closed to open. If it currently has open, it'll change open to closed. So this allows us to change our classes. And then we're going to add a little timing to it, okay, which is 1,000. Now, if this works, I'm going to save my changes in both files. If this works, when I click, the little menu icon should twist. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and flat out just click here. And now I got to resize the browser until it's all the way off to the right. I always do that. Click. Oh, you see that? It twists. All right, now you're probably going, okay, great. We got a little cool little icon that rotates. And that is pretty cool, right? But there's so much more we need to do. But it's not going to take much. You'll see. All right, check this out. Okay, first of all, you have this nav with a class of primary nav. All right, so I want to have the primary nav open and close. So check this out. All right, let's just go ahead and we're just going to focus here. We're also going to target, this time by class, the primary nav. Okay, and now we're going to do this cool little thing called toggle. And we're going to put the number 500. And the number, if it's just one number inside, that means the timing. That's 500 milliseconds. We're going to toggle the primary nav back and forth. So I'm going to save my changes. I'm going to hit refresh over here, and I'm going to click it. And oh, look at that. Unfortunately, it's the opposite. And the animation doesn't seem to quite be working. However, we've gotten pretty far here. We've got the primary nav toggling, and we got this opening and closing, right? And so there's a lot of other things that we can do. In fact, I'm thinking of changing this and not even doing it that way. In my next tutorial, what we'll do is we will work on animating this popping open and closed animated style through the use of a little CSS magic and wizardry. All right, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. All right, so the only thing is that we need to go ahead and collapse this on initial load. If I hit refresh, I shouldn't see the menu. This thing means the menu is closed, and already here, the class of the menu toggle says closed. So what we need to do is when this tag has a class of closed, we don't want to see our nav bar. Okay, and we're going to set it to a height of 0 and an opacity of 0 as well. So now we have to get a little fancy with our CSS. How do you target a tag that's outside of this? All right, let's take a look. So I just thought I'd check a little bit because part of the problem is we have the span tag is inside of the header one. We can target, say, a tag inside of another tag, but we have to find a way to go outside of this tag and then go to the next tag after it. That's just not possible because we would have to target what's called a parent tag, and we just can't do that. So rather than try to find some really obscure thing, what if instead we just add a class of opened or closed to our nav? Okay, so let's just make this easier on us all. So we have primary nav, and we're just going to add on here closed. Okay, and so we just add the tag of closed, and then we need to go to our JavaScript file. And so we're going to open that up, and I'm just going to split right so you can see this. And we're going to toggle class, but in this case, we want to target the nav. So we're just going to copy this, and we're going to paste. And instead of this, we have to actually target the other item. So in this case, we're saying nav dot primary dash nav, and then we're going to toggle that as well. Okay, I'm going to save our changes. But before we do, we need to double check and check our navigation style sheet. And notice we have menu toggle, open, closed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put nav dot opened. And we're just going to do a height of auto. And we're going to do an opacity of 1. And then on nav.closed, we're going to set the height to 0, and opacity of 0 as well. And then we need our nav to have a transition, all. I'm going to do a 0.2s for 0.2 seconds. Save our changes, go to the scripts, save our changes, which they already are. And let's try it one more time. Hit refresh. It's closed. Click. Bam. I like that. By changing the height, it doesn't go over anything after it. Let's change our timing a little bit here. And that's just too fast. Let's try 0.5 seconds. Save our changes. Now, the idea here is transition means to transition between these items. We say all, which means any item that's applied. If it gets changed, we're going to animate it 0.5 seconds. So we're going to save our changes, hit refresh, and here we go. Still a little bit fast. We're going to try something called ease in. Make sure there's a space on either side. Hit refresh. Click. You see how there's just like this little bit of a slight pause there? Let's make this 1 second. Save our changes. Refresh. Interesting. That sort of jumps down all the way, but the opacity and all of that changes a little bit. So that's how we did it. So actually, let's go back. Scripts on the left and navigation on the right. So we have the menu toggle function on click. We do that. And then we have added the following. You got all of this code is new code. Actually, not only that, including that transition. So everything that's highlighted on the right is what is new. And remember, we're toggling the class between closed and opened on both the menu toggle, that's this, and the nav with the class of primary nav. So we're toggling between closed and open. All right, well, I hope this helps. There is more work to be done when we start going to wider layout, but we're doing mobile first, so we're going to deal with mobile first. All right, that works okay, so I think we're at a good stopping point. On the next tutorial, let's add a 2-column layout, and let's play, actually, before we even go there, let's play around a little bit more with the navigation menu and pick some different breakpoints and figure out how we're going to style it. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching.